All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Wayfind Marketing Live. And my name is Steve Phipps, and I am the founder, the president of Wayfind Marketing, and my co-host is Annie Laurie Walters.
Hello.
And Annie Laurie. I'm excited about today's show.
Yeah.
We are going to be diving into the world of social media marketing, and there are lots of opinions, and there's a lot of bad social media out there, and we want to do our best to try to fix some of that today.
Yeah, we were just talking, before the show. Who would have ever thought that, social media and Facebook would become what it is? I mean, no one could have predicted that. But, I think one takeaway you and I were discussing was, despite your feeling about it personally, sometimes it can feel like a tangled web of despair if you just log in and scroll. But when used intentionally, like laser focus, get in, do what you're supposed to do, get out, it can really benefit your business. But you have to be disciplined, and you have to do it for specific reasons. So I think that that's some of what we're going to talk about today as well, specifically considering the industry that you serve. Right. We were talking about how we serve primarily the B2B and the, sorry, I've got a child who's coming in and trying to join our show. Talk about
social. There's social interaction right there.
Yeah, it's social. Tell them about that while I tell this child to stop talking.
Social media is one of those things that it's part of the fabric of our everyday lives now. Almost all of us have some sort of a smartphone, and so we're interacting with Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok. Pick the channel, and so it used to be the question that we would get asked is, well, should I be on social media? And really the question now isn't so much should I, it's how do I? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And before we jump in, I want a couple of things here. One, as Annie Laurie said, a lot of the work we do is with B2B and service-based companies. However, a lot of what we're going to talk about today is going to be relevant because we're going to be talking about strategy and planning. We are going to talk tactics as well. And the other thing we want to do is invite you to ask questions. If you have questions about social media, put them in the comments and we will make sure to get to those. And so we've got a lot of ground to cover, but a couple of things that we want to kind of toss out there is, how do we use social media? Where does this fit into the overall sort of marketing ecosystem? Because Annie Laurie, as you know, a lot of times people, business owners, nonprofit leaders, a lot of marketing is sort of knee-jerk reaction. And, so I lead a marketing mastermind group once a month, and we were talking about social media earlier in the week. And part of the conversation that we had was, finding the time. An idea hits, and by the time, you actually get to sit down in front of your computer or, enough time with your phone to to type it out, to find an image or anything like that. Sometimes it's like the inspiration's gone. And so it's easy just to say, oh, well, I'll do it another time. And so we want to get you away from that. We want to get you away from knee-jerk social media. The other thing too is we see a lot of people who don't have realistic expectations of social media. And so, Annie Laurie, why don't you talk a little bit about how social media is what we call an engager as opposed to a driver?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the whole point of social media is the social aspect of it. And so the idea is that you're getting online to connect with your customers and your potential customers in a personal way, on a personal level. And that begins with sharing meaningful content that your audience is going to want to engage with. You are providing answers to their questions. You're, providing solutions to their problems, and putting it out there in a way that's easy for them to access and understand, and then comment with you about it, have that dialogue publicly. And, then one of the benefits about doing it like this on social media in a public forum is that other people are watching too. So you're getting a larger benefit than you see just at face value, because not only are other people watching you and someone dialogue about some content you've provided, other people are watching that, and then it's stored there on your page forever.
Yeah. And you know, I think to your point, social media, it's easy to forget, you know, social media is social. And in the scheme of how you use social media as a part of your overall marketing and content strategy, it's a way to build trust and credibility. Mm-hmm. It's a way to interact. Now, some brands are going to interact. Some industries lend themselves to being able to interact with customers more than others. But at the end of the day, if every post a company makes is a sales pitch, people aren't going to pay attention, because they don't go to social media to be sold. They go to social media to engage, to consume. Mm-hmm. And so the majority of your social media content should not be sales oriented. Now, there's a time and a place for that. But to have every single post be promoting a product, that's typically not going to work. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I want to do is I want to take a couple of minutes, because good social media, we sort of recognize it when we see it. So before we jump in and talk through this, I want to share a few examples of companies. And I'm not looking at big companies like REI or Apple. I'm looking at small businesses, small nonprofits, individuals, and we know all these folks. Some of these are clients, some of these are past clients, some of these are friends. But we're going to look at real world examples of people that are doing a good job of social media. We'll make some comments, and what we'll do is we'll come back and jump into things like, well, how do I plan a content calendar? What are some of the tools that I can use? How do I get more people to my page, et cetera? So let me go ahead and now this first Facebook page, BTE Racing. These guys are just inside of Mississippi. They're just outside of Collierville, Tennessee. And they make transmissions, torque converters for kind of weekend auto racers. And these guys do a fantastic job. I've had the opportunity to work with them in the past, and they really do a fantastic job of creating content. And so, again, they know their audience. And so they're sharing content that's useful, it's relevant, it's entertaining, it's engaging. And so, yeah, they're talking about, you know, here they're talking about upcoming races, and they're asking for comments and feedback about that. One of the things that these guys have been doing for a while that I think is a really good example of social media and the social aspect of this is they do this car of the week. And so they ask their customers, they ask the people on their Facebook page, hey, submit an example of your car. You know, send us a picture of it. It might get featured. And so they put this on their website. Then, of course, they put it here on Facebook. Now, that's another good observation, is that when you're creating content, don't just plan for it to be a one channel. Look at how you can repurpose that content. So if you have something on your blog, you can use it on social media and vice versa. Now, they do have products that they include here. So they introduce products that are relevant, but again, they know their audience. You know, so they link back to the website here. And so again, they've got good imagery. They're sharing customer feedback, testimonial. You say you've got this hashtag here, part of your racing team. And yeah, this one had a ton of engagement, 327 interactions, 9 shares. So they're sharing stories. That's another good way to share content, is share your customer stories. You know, share your own stories that are relevant. Now, another organization now is Spreading Sunshine. Now, hey, Laura, of course, you know these guys. You've done some work for them, and Diane, who's their executive director, she works with us on some projects as well. And so this is it's a nonprofit. And these guys do fantastic work all around the country. And so they've really created this great community. And they're sharing things to encourage their audience. You can see this one had a bunch of interactions, comments, 337 shares. I mean, this had a ton of traction. And so they're sharing an image. It's good content. It's good images, something that's meaningful for their community at a heart level.
An interesting thing about Spreading Sunshine is that, I've worked with Diane closely on some things, and based on what I understand about the history of how this organization even got started, it got started and took off because of social media. There was there's such a strong social media community built around the idea of serving children and their families who are in the hospital for some reason. And especially when they're in the hospital out of state, we're in Memphis and we have a lot of rural areas in the area surrounding. So folks travel to Memphis to get that care. And they don't have family and friends here, as they rally the troops to support families who are here and don't know people. They're using this page not just as a fundraising source, which all nonprofits should be doing, but they're really using it as a hub for volunteers and to inspire more people to volunteer. So it's neat to see how Spreading Sunshine uses it for a couple of different key purposes that keep the organization moving forward.
Absolutely. Part of what they're sharing, this video here is fantastic. This no such thing as can't. So, again, we're seeing different examples. We're seeing video, we're seeing images, we're seeing stories of some of their families. They're sharing a video here. Another one to show a little bit of business to business is Cross and Crown. So these are some friends of ours up in Pennsylvania, and fantastic folks. And so they do a lot of media, video, some digital, variety of different things. And so they do a really nice job. Of course, these guys, they do some really great imagery. Since design is a big part of what they do, but they're sharing their content, they're sharing their blog posts. These guys do a really good job of sharing good examples of what they do. And so again, it's not a sales pitch. They're sharing good information that's interesting, that people want to see.
Right. And not just a case study. Case studies are so important, but one thing that I know that they like to do is they like to highlight their clients in terms of like these are our partners. Like, we're partnering together to make a difference in the world. They work with small businesses, nonprofits, medium-sized franchises in the Mid-Atlantic area. They work with global organizations, but they really take that focus of like, we want to share the good they're doing with the world. And they have this inspiring thread that runs through a lot of the social media that they're creating, which I think just sort of elevates their brand. And so when people kind of are trying to get the feel of, this is a creative agency. So what's the mood? What's the flavor and the feel going to be with what they create for me? I think that they do a great job of helping people see that through the social media that they create and share.
Absolutely. I want to take a look at one more, and this is on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, a lot of the content is going to come from individuals as opposed to a company page. Now, you do have company pages as well, but David is a friend. He used to be in the sales training space, and now he's actually in business development and sales for a roofing company based here in Memphis, My Town Roofers. And David does a phenomenal job with his social media. And a lot of what he does is social. It's interactive. And so, this post that he did yesterday, he's asking for some feedback, what's worth spending some extra money on. This one here got a ton of engagement. This was really fascinating, but he's going in some cases door to door, and he took a picture of this sign that's on the front porch of the house that he was about to knock on, and he's asking for feedback. Do I knock or do I not? What do you think?
Read the sign for our listeners.
And do I now?
Read the sign for the people who are listening to the podcast.
Yeah. So it says no solicitation. Seriously, don't make it weird. Which I think that's a great sign. And so he goes through and part of what he did, and this is a good approach on LinkedIn, is tag people. This doesn't work so much on Facebook because you're kind of limited from a business page in terms of who you can tag, but as an individual on LinkedIn, you can tag people. And so he got a ton of interaction. He just went through and tagged different people. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And then other people came through and commented as well. So absolute ton of engagement on that. And a lot of his videos, it's him walking around and sharing different tips and ideas and thoughts as he's, making sales calls. And so, he's using hashtags, roofing contractor. So use your hashtag. So, some of these get a ton of engagement. Some have more than others. And this one here has had, 3,500 views. So he got a ton of engagement on this. He's using the emojis. So it's And again, he's asking for feedback. He's giving, even on LinkedIn, it's okay to use personal content. So he's got a picture of his wife and kind of the role she plays. So anyway, we can look at a lot more examples, but let's jump in. I wanted to look at a few examples just so you can see kind of practically what does some of this look like. So Amy, Laurie, what are your thoughts in terms of starting to make, because it can feel overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts in terms of starting to create a plan? Like, where would you tell somebody to get started if they're wanting to, but they're just not sure where to get moving?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just to look for a few quick wins. Are there, depending on what type of organization or business that you're running, like what can you take a picture of and post? Are there people in it? Can you tag them? Like you don't have to necessarily spend a lot of time creating a graphic that people are going to want to share, but what are you doing that you can show and take a picture of, take a video of is even better, and it doesn't have to be a high quality, professionally produced video. Take a picture, give a video, go live, put others in it, tag them. Like that's a real easy place to start. Like, if twice a week, if you're not doing anything, but twice a week, that you're going to have an environment that's going to lend itself well to capturing photos or videos that you can tag people in. I would just start there, and make it easy on yourself to get going. Because once you start to get into the flow, then you can start to build on that.
Absolutely. And, I know some people that have lots of ideas, and part of the challenge is they just don't have time blocked off. And so an idea hits them when they're somewhere that they don't have the time or the access to be able to create the post. And by the time they do get back, they've got other things going on. So, another thought too is give yourself time. Like this does take work. This is not, there's no magic pill. There's no silver bullet. There's no easy button that you can push. And it's just voila, it's all done for you. Mm-hmm. You can pay somebody else to do it for you. And that's about as close as you're going to get. Yeah. But assuming that you want to do it yourself, want to be involved in it, give yourself block time, make this a commitment, give yourself an hour a week to where you can create some content.
And honestly, that's all it really takes. You can create twice a week for a whole month in 1 hour. I mean, honestly, so you can create enough content to post Tuesdays and Thursdays for an entire month in 1 hour, and then schedule it.
Yeah.
And then you're done.
I dare say, and this is not a scientific data driven, this is an observational opinion after working with small business owners and small nonprofits for more than a decade, specifically in marketing. I think the biggest thing that keeps most people from marketing their business consistently is they don't block off the time. They don't make it a priority. So make it a priority. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to make sure that we get into some of the brass tacks here. So make a plan, but think about what are you going to create? Because that's the other thing too. So what do I write about? What channel should I be on? Well, who's your audience? Start there. Who's your audience? What's relevant to them? What kinds of questions are they asking? You've heard me talk about StoryBrand a gazillion times. Go to mystorybrand.com, create a brand script. It's a 7-part framework. It gives you a tool that you can use to write down what your customers are facing. What are their problems? What are their challenges? How are they feeling about it? What's your solution? How do you guide them? What's the plan? How are you calling them to act? What does success look like? What does failure look like that you help them avoid? And that could become a seedbed for brainstorming ideas. List out all the questions that you get asked on a regular basis. I mean, there are a bunch of different ways to do this. So think about who's your customer. Where are they? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Are they on, a lot of times it's easy to think, everybody's on TikTok now. Well, which interestingly enough, Walmart and Microsoft are combining forces potentially to buy TikTok. So go figure. That's weird. But if your customers aren't there, don't go there. Maybe you love it. Mm-hmm. But if your customers aren't there, don't waste your time. And if you only have time to do one channel, great, do one channel. Where are your customers? Are you B2B? They're probably on LinkedIn. Are they primarily on Instagram? Great. Mm-hmm. If you're new to the channel, take time, pay attention, look at what people are posting. Look at what's getting traction. Follow other brands in your industry. It may be that your competitors aren't doing anything. So just being out there and having some good content is going to be something that's really going to distinguish you. But remember, your content is to keep you in front of people. It's building trust. It's building credibility. Yes, it can drive traffic to your website, but it's not a hard sales push. So sit down. I'm going to show one more thing. So when you think about your content, make a calendar. And this doesn't have to be some crazy complicated thing. You can put something together in a spreadsheet and just block off. And this is a higher level content calendar. Take a, just make a note. Okay, Monday, I'm going to do social media. Tuesday, I'm going to do a blog. Wednesday, I'm going to do social media. That's actually going to link back to Tuesday's blog. Thursday, I'm going to send out an email. And then Friday and Saturday, I'm going to do social media. And one of the things that we suggest and that, some of our clients do and we do for our clients is create a series. Why don't you talk a little bit about what we do for Make and Row? Because one of our clients, we've been doing this and it's gone over really well. But it's a weekly series. There's a theme to it.
Yeah. We have two. We have, they post Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Tuesdays, we do educational resources that will be helpful for parents. So their target audience, are parents of children who want to give their children private Christian education. And so we will share content that ranges from why choose Christian education all the way to, how to build out a library for your child for the first time, from ages 3 to 5, 6 to 8. We have been doing this for a while. And ever since COVID, it's been even more important because their parents were really looking for even more resources to engage their children while they were home. They are back in school now, but while they were home in the spring, we needed to provide some good resources. But then on Thursdays, they do what's called the family table. And the whole idea is to get families to sit around the table and have meaningful conversations. And so we just give them a cue every Thursday of here's what you can talk about this week. Talk about whatever you want. But if you need a place to start, here's a cue. Here's some questions to get you going. And that's been a really fun way just to create engagement around two important topics that matter to their target audience.
Absolutely. We have another client that on Mondays, we do what we call the leadership huddle. And it's some sort of leadership quote, tip, advice, something along those lines. So you can be consistent. So for here at Wayfind, every Tuesday, I do a weekly marketing tip video. And so when you have some sort of consistency, when you sit down and do it in a Google Calendar, I mean, again, it doesn't have to be super complicated. Now, all of a sudden, when you start thinking through a month at a time, you go, okay, well, I need some leadership tips. So I could go get some quotes or I'm going to share a customer story every other Thursday. So I need to start thinking through some of those customer stories. So those are some practical ways that you can, but again, think through if you have a particular campaign, maybe you have a particular service line that you're promoting that you want to create some awareness about, create stories around that, find your customer stories, share some examples, talk about the problems that your customers face and how you solve those problems. And again, there's a lot of different ways to do that. And there's so much we could say. And really 30 minutes is just scratching the surface.
It really is. But before we hop, let's give them some tools.
Absolutely. I'm looking, we've got a list of questions. I'm looking through here because I want to make sure that we get to, so absolutely. So Annie Laura, because you do a lot of social media creation. You do a lot for us here at Wayfind. So what are some of your favorite tools when it comes to creating, scheduling content?
Yeah, there's so many. I'll just say from a scheduling perspective first, because that is the one thing that makes social media easy is schedule it. Sit down for that hour, map it out for a month, go into your scheduling tool and schedule that. And then really all you should do is set a reminder on your calendar to say, oh, go and see if anybody's said anything on your posts that you've scheduled 3 weeks ago. So you might've forgotten you did it. So the scheduling tools that I use the most you could schedule directly from within Facebook. So if
Yeah.
all you are or is on Facebook, you can go into Facebook and they have a scheduling tool, and it is very easy. In fact, now that they've improved their integration with Instagram, you can just click a button and it'll post straight to Instagram for you too. So Facebook's made it easy if that's where you're focusing. We use Buffer with clients that are going to be on Facebook and LinkedIn, because that just, again, makes it easy. Even the image sizes are the same. So you can create it, it's one image, and have it post in both places, schedule for it to go to both places automatically. So Buffer, I think, is really helpful. I know people like Hootsuite. I have not used it as much, only because you know how it is. You get used to using one tool, so you use it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But I know some people love Hootsuite.
Yeah.
Tailwind is one that's really great if you're doing Instagram. I know we're not talking a lot, but I wanted to just mention it in case there's some folks who are trying to focus there. Tailwind is really great for Instagram from a scheduling perspective. But creating images, you know, I will just say I think all social media has to have an image. Like if you don't have an image, unless you're like saying something profound.
There's one exception on LinkedIn. I'll throw that in just a minute, but go ahead.
Yeah, so getting these images created can be tricky, and you can even hire services where you can peruse images they've already made and just grab one. You know, you pay like a monthly fee, and then you've got this bank you can pick from. We typically will create images from scratch, but some tools that I use, my favorite is Spark, Adobe Spark. Their app and their web-based product are both very good. The app makes it so easy to do on the go. So like you were saying earlier, like if you get an idea and you're on the go, you can open your Spark app and get to work and then finish it when you get home. I've done that many times. But Spark is really helpful, and they give you a lot of great templates to start from too. And they're created by brilliant designers. So you might not be a designer at all, but if you see one you like, change the words, looks like you just created this amazing graphic art, and you know, it was a template. So it makes it easy. Canva's the same way. Canva is another tool to use to create that. Those are the two that I tend to gravitate towards more. There's others out there. If you went and Googled Canva, I bet the first 5 ads at the top would all be other.
all their competitors. Yeah.
So you really spend some time researching it.
Absolutely. Now, one exception I wanted to mention, because I agree with you, most posts need to have some sort of image. They need to have a video. LinkedIn, there's just kind of this odd thing that happens on LinkedIn sometimes, is if you have a text-only post that's really good, it will get more traction than a post with an image. Now, again, not always, but in another tactic on LinkedIn, I mentioned this a minute ago, is tag people. That can create some interaction, and that'll help get it moving further along. Another tactic, and you mentioned this a minute ago, you know, sometimes an idea hits you when you're out and about. You see something, you go, oh, wow, that would be something really good to write about on social media. Well, give yourself, if you've got a phone, and use your voice recorder, like just record your thought. Here's what I'm thinking, et cetera, et cetera. You say it, and now you've got it. And if you block time on your calendar to create and post your social media, well, then when you get to that time, you might have maybe just one, maybe you've got half a dozen different ideas that you've thought about, and you've got them on your voice recorder, or use Evernote somewhere. Just give yourself one place that you can capture that idea, so that when you get back to, you know, actually your scheduling time, you've got a list of ideas. And because sometimes what happens is if you do give yourself that time, you get there like, oh, what am I going to post about? Even if I know the category, if I don't have some sort of inspiration at that moment. But that's just a practical tip. And the other thing that I'll say is, if you want more people to like your page, if you want more people to engage with your content, it's got to be meaningful. It's got to be interesting. So test, experiment, try different kinds of content, use stories. Again, like you said, show images. Maybe it's a picture that you took. There was one I did a while back that was just a picture of a tree blooming here in my neighborhood. This was back in the spring. Things were still crazy, and things are still crazy. But at that particular time, there was even more uncertainty as to where things were going, what effect was that going to have. And it's just some comments about this beautiful blooming tree, and that got a lot of interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow. Okay. So there's a lot more that we could cover. And I'm sure that we'll look at scheduling another live stream in the future where we can talk more. If you have a question, we'll be hopping off here in a minute. If you have a question, feel free to post it. We will post recording of this on our website, wayfindmarketing.com. We'll also post the podcast version of this by early next week. So you can find that Wayfind Marketing live if you want to go back to this. And if you have questions, if you have questions about social media, reach out to us. You can get in touch with me, steve@wayfindmarketing.com. Happy to have a conversation and kind of walk through. I guess I put that up there really fast. And again, I'll invite you, like our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, connect with us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram. We're on all the channels. Well, we're not on TikTok. You don't want to see me dancing and singing. That's just, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. So, but yeah, follow along with us, because every Friday we're here. We're talking about marketing. We want to make it easier. And that's what we do. And so any parting thoughts before we jump off here, Lauren?
I don't think so. I would just say, if you're not doing it, just get started. You just have to start and stay focused. Yeah. That's
a really good point. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't try to be perfect, because it's not going to be. It's okay. Some of your social media is going to suck. It's okay. That's how you learn.
Right. Exactly.
And so don't be afraid of that. It's not going to be the end of the world. So, all right, everybody, thank you for joining us. I know we went long, but reach out to us if you have questions. Join us next Friday, noon Central Time. We'll be back here live. Next week, we're going to talk about blogging, how to blog, how to come up with topics, creating headlines, all that kind of stuff.
That'd be fun.
All right. Happy Friday, everybody.